From a yin to my yang to Z. Put a grin on my chin when you come to me. Cause I'll win, I'm a one of a kind, and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in the fire lit long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. I'm last to leave, but the first to go. Lord, make me dead before you make me old. I feed on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior, this is my song. I am a warrior and this is my song. I'm basking the glow of the rising war, lay waste to the ground of an enemy shore.
I read you Lima Charlie, loud and clear.
Welcome to Stu and the Nun presents Lima Charlie. I'm here with a special guest, a longtime friend of mine, retired Command Sergeant Sandra Scott.
Hi, Rob.
Hi. So tell us a real quick kind of 30,000 view of yourself, and then we'll get into who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to first say thanks for the opportunity to be joining you today. I got really excited when you talked about this opportunity. So, yeah, I just recently retired from the Air Force after 29 years, 4 months and 10 days. Had a really outstanding career, originally from Houston, Texas, but I also grew up in Germany for quite some time. And yeah, and then served on 11 different assignments, various background from logistics to military professional education. And that's where I ended it, at the Air Force Senior and Non-Commissioned Officer Academy in Montgomery, Alabama.
Awesome. So you said you joined the Air Force, 29 plus years. So what made you join the Air Force?
Actually, you kind of helped me with that. I remember just having that camaraderie because we met each other in Germany in Heidelberg, Germany, and I had came over to Germany as a young child at the age of 12. My mom's German, so I obviously followed her to be able to still live with her. And then I wanted to go back to the United States and trying to figure out a way of taking care of myself, not being independent or dependent off of anybody. And so I remember us having that conversation. You're like, just join the Army, but so I decided to join the Air Force instead. So, and that's where it took me.
So you did basic training, obviously, in San Antonio.
Yep,
right?
at Lackland Air Force Base.
So you're from Texas, from Germany, and then so you go right back to Texas.
Yep.
What part of the year was that? What time of the year?
So it was in February of 1996.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to basic training at Lackland Air Force Base, and then my tech training was just right across the street. So it continued on for another 10 weeks in San Antonio still. So, and from there.
So what made you choose logistics?
It was given to me, actually. So based on ASVAB scores, they said I can pretty much do anything that I wanted to, except for being an electrician. And so yeah, logistics has like always been something that I've appreciated. I like how seeing things move and just coming to fruition. Actually, I applied for a couple of German companies, DHL and FedEx, before I left Germany, just to make sure I had a side plan. But coincidentally, that's where I ended up in the traffic management operations career field.
Awesome.
Also known as TMO.
So you go to Texas in February, which I mean, not as cold as Germany, obviously, but still a little chilly.
Yeah.
So what was your experience in at Lackland in basic?
I know when I first well, we flew from Germany all the way back to Texas and had to wait until we all got gathered together with all the buses and stuff like that. And it was like hurry up and wait game. It seemed like pretty much the same experience from what I talked to with other veterans and just service members, waiting for them to ship you off to training, and then we finally got in process, and then we roll up on to where our dorms were at the time. And I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, I'm hearing people getting yelled at and stuff, and I'm like, what did I get myself into? You know, it's like, I don't know if this is going to work out for me very well. I was like, you don't need to yell at me.
So did you think basic was pretty? I mean, once you got past that little bit of jitters, I mean, was basic training pretty easy for you?
I was ready to get out of basic training as
Yeah.
quickly as I could. So, I mean, it was all a little bit different compared to what my recruiter had said. So, um, not necessarily very in detailed about the PT program and everything else like that, and just basically going to get yelled at pretty much all day, every day, all day long. So, but yeah, after 6 weeks, it was pretty. I was glad when those 6 weeks were done and we were walking down the bomb run in the graduation parade ground. So,
So then you go. You said you went right across the base to your. You call it tech school. Is that what you call
yep.
it?
Hmm.
So your tech school. Do you? I mean, do they kind of ease up on the restrictions? I mean, what is that like when you go when you
Yeah.
transition over to that?
Yeah, it definitely is a lot less restriction. Unfortunately, at the time that there were some people there before us that got in some trouble. So we were on considered phase one. It was a phase program. Like, so phase one is your, like, you have to wear your uniform all day, you have to march everywhere and everything else like that. And as you go along within the few weeks that you're there, is they lessen the restrictions. Unfortunately, during my time there, we were in phase one pretty much the whole entire 10 weeks I was there. So,
10 weeks.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
That's pretty. I mean, is that about average for tech school for the Air Force, or I
It,
mean,
it depends. It depends on
okay,
their AFSC, their Air Force Specialty Codes, or
okay.
MOS in the Army. So,
So you're getting ready to graduate, and you I think you normally get orders, before you graduate,
mhm.
right? So you know where you're going.
Yep.
Where you get your orders? Where were you going, and what was your thought?
Yeah. So I was going to Travis Air Force Base, California.
Okay.
Um, I think my situation was a little bit different. I'm not sure why, but I didn't get orders around the same time as the rest of my class did. So I had to work with the military training leaders, the MTLs, to work with, I guess, the A1 to figure out like the personnelists and stuff like that to figure out where I was going. And so I originally wanted to go to Montana. I wanted to go to New Mexico for obvious reasons. And then afterwards, and so we finally figured it out. And about a week or so before I graduated, I found out I was going to Travis Air Force Base, California. And so I was like, I didn't put California anywhere on my list. So I guess it's we'll see what happens, you know what I mean? So it was
So
pretty
we call
exciting.
it the dream sheet in the
Yeah.
Army.
Same thing in Air Force.
How many places do you get to choose on your dream sheet?
8.
8. Wow. I think we get like three or
Okay.
four. I think you get 2 CONUS and 1 OCONUS.
Okay.
You say this is your choices, and I mean it's just so they know we're not to send you, because they're not going to send you to any of those. So now, did you have any kind of identifier because you're dual language, because you're multilingual?
No, I actually, when I got to Travis Air Force Base, I heard about a program called the Foreign Language Pay,
Mm-hmm.
FLP. So basically, what that consisted of, that I had to take a test every year in order to recertify and basically get paid a little bit more money. But unfortunately, after a few years, they had changed the program up and saying that if you're not using the language, then for your job, then you're not going to get paid for it. So,
Okay. Okay. So you get to Travis,
mhm,
sunny California.
yeah.
What part of California is Travis in? I'm not
So
familiar with the Air
Travis is
Force.
in the northern part of California, right between
Okay.
San Francisco and Sacramento. So right
Okay.
smack dab in the middle. Yeah,
So
it was
you get earthquakes and stuff like that up there.
no, not too bad actually.
Okay.
I don't think that we experienced any earthquakes while I was there. I did in Alaska, which was my next duty assignment.
All
So
right.
um,
Well, so how long were you at Travis?
I was at Travis for roughly 3.5 years.
Okay.
I deployed while I was at Travis to Escon Village in Saudi Arabia the first time for 4 months. And so that was where, yeah, I went there for 4 months, worked logistics the whole entire time while I was there, and got to meet some really nice people, Army folks again. So
So at this point, what is your rank?
I was, when I left Travis, or when
So on this deployment, what's your rank?
I was about to become an E4
Okay, so as a senior airman,
senior
right?
airman.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So you made rank fairly quick. I mean, is
Mhm.
that normal in the Air Force to make it that?
Yeah, I got promoted every single, like, I would say the first 3 ranks, the 4 ranks, that
Okay.
it was on time. on
Okay.
target within 3 years. So
So anything exciting at Travis and this deployment? I mean, any
yeah,
noteworthy?
so Travis was we didn't technically work like the TMO career field normally doesn't work with the aerial port squadron, which is the where all of the cargo from the Pacific came through in and out of. And so that's not normally where we would work with normally on a day-to-day basis, but were assigned there. And so I got to experience all kinds of different things, from learning how to drive a tractor trailer to moving people's household goods, and just the coordination of all like cargo movement wise, at least, and
Okay.
then household goods. And then in my deployment, that was really interesting, because that was like having bomb threats and having to evacuate where we worked at from work because we were so close to the gate. Just long hours, and just not having the what we have now, what we take for granted, the internet, and having
Hmm.
mobile phones, and when you only got like one 15-minute phone call per week going back home, you have to really figure out who you wanted to talk to and what you wanted to say in that duration.
Right.
So
Right. So you joined in 96. So now this is, roughly two years in, right? So we're at
hmm
98,
hmm
right? So we're still a little bit away from 9/11.
yeah.
Um, anything else happened at Travis? I mean, what was the base like there, Travis? Is that a pretty nice installation?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's a big port. So
Okay.
basically on close to the west coast of things. And so like I said, it was mostly like mobility stuff. So a
Okay.
lot of things going out to the Pacific and coming into the Pacific. So seeing things like that, I mean, it was a nice installation. It wasn't bad at all. So I lived primarily in the dorms for a little while in the first year, and then I moved off base. So they
Okay.
allowed us to move off base pretty quickly in the Air Force versus the Army. So
Very nice.
yeah,
Okay. So you finished there, and then where did you go?
I got orders. During my time at Travis, I was just coming back from my deployment, and I had received orders to Alaska. Um, when you fill out your dream sheet, I realized that you need to be very specific on where you want to go to. So that was a lesson learned. I put the whole state of Alaska down versus an an itemized area. Like I should have put Anchorage down or Elmendorf at the time, which is now joint base Elmendorf Richardson. And then, but I went to Eielson instead, which is the northern tier base in Alaska. So I was like, we'll see what happens, right? So
How
this was
many
before
how,
9/11.
how many Air Force installations are in Alaska?
Two main ones, and so they
Two.
do have
Okay.
some. They have some sites out there, but they're not
Okay.
very big.
Okay. So the one you were at, was that very big or?
It was a fighter base, and so
Okay.
it was in the northern tier of Alaska. So I would say more like in the tundra area of Alaska. It's not the
Okay.
picture postcard area that you normally see.
So you get the 6 months of sun and 6 months of
Yeah.
dark. Oh wow.
It's a little no, actually, it's probably more darkness than it is light there, and
Okay.
it's cold. So we I was married at the time, and then we left out of Los Angeles because we were visiting his family. And it was probably like about 70 degrees in the morning, around 6 o'clock in the morning when we left LA in January. And so we fly all the way up to Anchorage, and we're able to get off the plane because was before 9/11 days. And so the
Right.
restrictions weren't there. So we were able to actually go outside with no issues. And so we go outside of Anchorage from the airport, and it was like 0 degrees. I'm like, this is doable. We can handle this. We had just bought brand new winter coats and stuff like that. And then Eielson is just another 45-minute flight from Anchorage or into Fairbanks, Alaska. And we get off the plane, it was negative 50 degrees, and that wasn't
Ooh.
including the wind chill. And so with the wind chill, it was a negative 80. So that was like a complete eye opener. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle this. And so like you walk outside and everything is so cold that it's actually you're not allowed to stay outside for a very long period of time. So you need to be moving in and out.
Right. So in the logistics field, I mean, obviously in every
hmm
field, as you move up, your outside time becomes less, right? You spend more time doing paperwork. But in the logistics field, as the lower enlisted, how much of that is actually outside, dealing with cargo and stuff?
Yeah, so I would say quite a bit because right before we got there, we had the base just went through an operational readiness inspection and they failed. And so they made us exercise every month until we were ready for that exercise. So that meant that what I did is I was one of the low planners for all the cargo that went onto the planes. And so I
Hmm.
had to go out and inspect all of the cargo first to make sure it was ready for shipment, and like the pieces like fit perfectly on the plane, like how I had planned it. And so, and then we also had other exercises where we had to go out and like wear our chem gear and phase 2 exercises back then in
Hmm.
the day is what they used to call them. And so where we pretended that we were under attack and we had to go out in different buildings and get on buses and be moved around and just wearing our chem gear all the time too. So yeah.
Does the Air Force do y'all have the white snow uniforms at all, or do y'all? Is it just? I mean, you're just wearing camo at this time. You just
It was just
BDUs.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
just BDUs at that time.
Okay.
Yep.
But you got the Gore-Tex boots and the
Yep.
all the
Yep.
cold weather gear.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you got that issued to you when you got up there.
Right.
All that cold weather
Yep.
gear. Yeah. So it's freezing cold. How long? How many months does it stay that cold?
So I would say probably like from January and starting in September, and I would say in probably till March, April, we had snow on the ground.
Okay.
And
And then,
it's pretty cold. And then, well, it's funny is that, and during times like when I said when we first got there, it was like negative 50 degrees. When it reached 0, it actually felt warm. So we were able to wear shorts and t-shirts and no jackets and stuff like that, just because our blood uh, got acclimated
oh wow.
with the times and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it was definitely interesting. And then in the summer months, where it's light out all day, like in July, I believe is the longest day of summer in Alaska, or the longest day, and so the sun's out all day long.
So how does your body adjust to that? The long darkness and the long light. I mean,
I think it's easier for the military person because I mean, that's just normal business. You know what I mean? You have to
right.
go, you had to be somewhere at a certain time and getting off at a certain time. It was just normal day-to-day business. So your body acclimated with that pretty well. But I do know like a lot of dependents that stayed at home and didn't work. They had a hard time. Saw some people put like aluminum foil over their windows so they were
Hmm.
able to sleep at night when it was so bright out. And yeah, or they had to have happy lights too to have vitamin D.
Right.
So they were prescribing that as well too to make sure that the person was not depressed, so
Sure. Sure.
mhm.
I mean, I can only imagine what that does to you physically. I mean, even the the airman or the soldier, you
Yeah.
got PT tests, you've got a rigorous schedule normally,
Hmm.
and here you are deficient in vitamin D because you're not getting sun.
Yeah.
So I mean, so you got to be on top of your meals. You got to be on top of everything to make sure that you're
Yeah.
able to do that. So how long were you up there?
3 years.
3 years, man.
Yep.
That's a lot of that's
Yeah.
rough on the body. The
Yeah. I
cold and
think
the dark and the yeah.
I feel like people that came during the winter months didn't enjoy it as much compared to the people that came during the like spring and summer months because of all the things that you can do. Because I mean, if you're outdoorsman and you like to fish and you like to hunt, that was like heaven for them.
Right.
But for
So
the person that likes to go shopping all the time, that wasn't so much because we really didn't have much to offer at Eielson or in Fairbanks, Alaska.
so what did you do when on your off time up there?
Yeah, I mean, the first year was pretty busy just with work and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
so, I mean, yeah, we tried to go out and vacation as much as we could. We used to go down to Anchorage once a year to go shopping, just to stock up on things. Cause at the time we didn't have a Walmart and Fairbanks. And
Right.
so, or any big stores for that matter. And it was expensive too. And
Hmm.
so we would go down to Anchorage, rent a bigger vehicle, and go stock up on things, and then come back.
How long
You
was
know,
that drive?
about 7 hours.
Whoo, that's a long drive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you forgot something, if you just didn't have it during the winter months, you just did without it.
Yeah, or you could order, like it seemed like a lot of times the things that we normally did at the time was go to a lot of like those house parties, and so like the Pampered Chef and like
Hmm.
the Logenberger baskets and all that other stuff. That's where you got to spend your money at. So,
Right. Right.
yep.
So what are you driving in this? I mean, you got to have
I
four-wheel
had
drive, right?
I had a Geo Metro actually.
That's not
Yep.
four-wheel drive.
No, it wasn't.
So anything exciting happened while you're up there? I mean, other than just, I mean, work and then of
Yeah.
course you're here when 9/11 happens, right?
Right. And so I actually also deployed right before 9/11 happened. I deployed back to Saudi Arabia, but this time at Prince Sultan Air Base, which we
Okay.
also call as PSAB. That was only 3 months at the time. And that my hopes were that I was going to get out of the cold weather for that winter, because that was the first winter that I was there. So I was like, yeah, let's see if I can go warm up a little bit. But yeah, and then so that was the year of the Y2K, and
Hmm.
seeing if everything was all the like all the electronics were going to go down, if the world was going to come to an end too, so that was also interesting. And yeah, I got to meet a lot of different people there, and I actually was promoted. I was selected for promotion as well during that time, so to staff sergeant to E5 for the
Okay.
Air Force.
How
Yep.
does that promotion work? Do you have like a promotion board or in the Air Force or to go from
So
E45?
from E1 to E4, it's typically just automatic. You can get senior airman below the zone, which is E4 ahead of time. So it's not always a guarantee. And then E5 through, at the time when I got promoted, E5 all the way through E9, you were going on taking a test, two tests,
Okay.
one for Air Force knowledge and one for your AFSC. After E7, you only tested for Air Force knowledge, though.
Okay. Okay. So you come off the deployment, you get back to Alaska, and then is this when 9/11 happens?
Yeah, and so shortly thereafter, I'm able to put my stripe on. I had made it fairly quickly, so I had to wait about a year to actually get the chance to put my staff sergeant stripe on to become an NCO. And then, yeah, shortly thereafter, then 9/11 happened and all chaos broke off. I remember one of my young airmen that I was supervising calling me. He was a troublemaker actually at the time too, saying that he wasn't coming back because of planes crashing into the World Trade Center. I'm like, what are you talking about? You better get your butt back on that plane. You better get up here. I was like, you're already enough heat. And so like, no, turn on the news, and so sure enough, you saw everything just coming. The
Right.
planes going through the tower, just the recaps of everything and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the phone started ringing. My ex-husband was a cop at the time, and so he got called into duty. I got called in shortly thereafter, and just like, yeah, it was just chaos,
So
because all the
so
bases were shut down and everything else. So,
being that kind of remote, I mean,
mhm.
was news pretty slow? I mean, we're just early into the internet phase, right? And so things didn't travel as fast, back then. But I mean, what about things like the news? I mean,
Yeah, I think it was still appropriate with the timing. It didn't like last very long because it was early in the morning for us
right.
when that all happened. And um so the television cable, we still had cable and everything else like that, but not necessarily like you said internet, but it did
Right.
travel pretty quickly.
Okay. So I mean, as soon as this happens, I'm sure the base immediately goes on
Yeah.
lockdown,
Yep, we
and
go
and
in
you
Delta.
yeah, and you get called in. I'm sure
Mhm.
everybody gets called in,
Yep.
right? They'll decide who gets to go home later. I
Yep.
mean, was that just pure chaos there? I mean, how many people are stationed up there at that base? I guess.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'd have to do some research about that.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, because
Like
I know places
couple of thousand.
like Fort Bragg, right? So Fort Bragg,
Yeah.
Fort Hood, two of the largest Army installations.
Mhm.
I mean, when those things go on lockdown, right? Because they
Mhm.
were open installations before, and when those places went on lockdown previously, I mean, it would take you hours to get on base.
Yeah.
So, what was it like up
And
there?
and that was the same case because we did go into Delta too, and so they weren't allowing anybody. They were trying to figure things out and what they needed to have happen. With this law enforcement, with the security forces
Hmm.
folks. And I remember like definitely no civilians coming on base. Military was like very iffy at that too. So like they were, I mean, it was clear chaos. If you were on base, you're good. If you needed to come on base, then yeah, you might as well stay at home for the next few days. And that's pretty
Okay.
much what happened. When I was there, that I was responsible for house of goods, like um contracting the contractors out to come on base to have the people's property get picked up and everything else like that. So, of course, moves were supposed to happen that day too,
Hmm.
and then carriers were not allowed to come on base, and then stop loss was happening where like people that were scheduled to separate and retire, and so they were trying to figure out their entitlements still and how that was all going to work out and whatnot.
Right.
So yeah, there was a lot going on.
Yeah. So how long did that chaos last?
I would say several months actually.
Okay.
Yeah, it
And
was. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, anything else? I mean, what did they? You go to Delta. I'm assuming that's the highest for the Air Force.
Yeah.
I mean, you're on lockdown. I mean, what was the kind of posture and going through your mind at that point? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like they had augmentees where they pulled people back for security forces and stuff like that. So a lot of the normal mission was slowed down quite significantly in regards to like this limited operations just because we were supporting them at the security forces because it was 24/7, and so the first couple of months it was chaotic, but then things started to normalize a little bit more.
Mhm.
They were still trying to figure out how they were going to let civilians on base and like the local movers and everything else like that. Just finding the new norm
So
is
did
the
your
best way to
mission
capture
your
it.
mission change? I mean, you're doing household goods and stuff like that. Obviously, nobody's moving, nobody's going
Yep.
anywhere. I mean, they can't have you just sitting there twiddling your thumbs. Did they
Yeah.
change your mission and have you focus on something else?
So several of us had to actually go out and be part of the augmentee program, and so
Okay,
the folks that were left back stayed in the office just in case if they needed things, as things got to normalize and still answer questions and stuff like
right.
that. So, yeah,
So any part of that installation, of course, shortly after 9/11, next thing you know, we're sending half the military to the Middle East.
yeah.
Did anything come out of your area that went to the Middle East for support?
So the difference between the Army and the Air Force is that we go in like as individuals versus as
Okay.
large teams. As far as posts go, you know what
Mhm.
I mean? So we did increase our mobility numbers by sending folks over to those deployed locations.
Okay. Do you get to augment anybody in to help replace them, or when somebody volunteers and goes on deployment? I mean, what do you do for that slot?
Yeah, you
You
suck.
just
You suck it
SOL.
up. Yeah, you suck it up. You suck it up, and you keep on doing the same mission the best that you can. So
Okay. Okay. So, had what year did you leave there?
I left in 2003, going back down to San Antonio as a tech
Okay.
training instructor to
Okay.
actually teach traffic management
So
to
you were
Fairfield
there
troops.
for a good portion after 9/11. I mean, you were there for a while.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, by the time you left, I mean, what was, I know, I mean, my thought when we went in, 9/11 happens and then we start deploying people, because and you were of that same generation. I was thinking,
Hmm.
all right, this is Desert Storm all over again. We're going to go in,
Yeah.
kick the shit out of somebody and then come home, right? This is going to
Yeah.
be 6 months and we're done.
Hmm.
And then next thing we know, and we'll get to that in a little bit, we're 20 years into it, right?
Yeah.
But here you are, you're several years after it already happened,
Hmm.
and you already knew about Desert Storm and how short it was. What were you thinking at that point? Were you thinking, I mean, is this going to be a forever war?
Yeah, I mean, it was like it's still in disbelief because really, just thinking about what happened and everything else like that, I think it was definitely an eye opener. Listening to a lot of Air Force folks that's going over there for 6 months, 7 months, and stuff like that. But then seeing the Army go for like 12 months to 18 months, I was like, I don't want to be part of that. So it's like, no, thank you. Um, it was definitely an eye opener. It's like, yeah, I really don't know what I thought as far as it like continuing on. You watch the news the best you could and hope for the
Right.
best. So
Okay. So you get back down to San Antonio
Yeah.
and you're training.
Hmm.
Does any part of, what you had just gone, 9/11, does any of that, did it change any of the training that was being done and kind of, maybe a little bit more emphasis on, uh, going to high alert and things like that, and some of the other things that go with that?
I would say in basic training it did.
Hmm.
They increased the basic training time there. I would, for the tech training side, not necessarily, just because we have wartime tasks that we have to. So from what I remember, is that tech training was expedited during that time to just teach those wartime tasks in order to make sure that the mission happened. If you had to got deployed right away, that you're able to take care of what you needed to, the basics, and so. But at the time when I was there as a tech trainer, that it wasn't like that. We were going back to normal. It was normal. The
Okay.
normalcy was there. So
Okay. But they did kind of speed it up to get bodies
right,
to the bodies
right.
to the front.
Hmm.
So how long were you a trainer? How long were you
I
there?
was a tech training instructor for just my career field for 3 years, and then I was a hazmat instructor for a year. The last year I was in Texas. It's still at the same building and same schoolhouse still, but yeah. So I was there from 2003 until 2007. That's when I got orders to Altus Air Force Base,
Okay.
Oklahoma.
So you're back in San Antonio and you're thinking, okay,
Yeah,
great. Here I signed to maybe see a little bit more of the world,
yeah,
and I'm back in Texas. I'm,
yeah,
I'm back just where I was before.
yeah. But was a
So
good thing. So it
yeah,
was a good thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like? What was it like teaching for the Air Force?
To me, that was one of my favorite jobs, actually. One of my many favorite jobs, actually. Um, just giving back to the career field that I really enjoyed being part of, and just showing new recruits how to take care of business. You know what I mean? What their job was at the
Right.
same time. So like understanding, like seeing those light bulbs go off, like they truly understood what they were going to be in charge of or what was responsible for.
Right. And what was the hazmat training like? I mean,
So hazmat training was basically teaching folks how to certify hazardous cargo
okay.
on via air, land, vessel, or even plane. So, and then also then as a certifier, because you have to be an inspector. So you have a certifier position, and then you have an inspector position, just double checking, making sure that it was done accurately, and actually when you load it on aircraft, that it was properly certified.
Right. That's a pretty important job. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't want something leaking causing I
No.
mean, causing a plane to crash. That
Right.
yeah. And so you only did that for a year, right?
Yeah.
Is that people that go right from tech school to that, or is that returning people that need to get hazmat certified?
It's mostly people are returning to get certified. And we
Okay.
also taught all of the different branches of service too. So we taught the
Okay.
Army, we taught the Marines, we taught the Navy as well too on
Are
how
these
to do
typically
that.
like E6 and above, or is it just all over the?
It varies. So
Okay.
a lot of times within the Air Force, a lot of not necessarily brand new airmen, just because so they understand the basics first before
Hmm.
they learn how to pack a box first versus how to certify it. Yeah, so probably from E4 and above,
Okay. Okay.
E4 to E7.
Right. And you enjoyed being back in San Antonio? I mean,
Yeah, I did.
it's
Yeah, it
you
was
you
really
actually
nice.
you came up to see me while you were there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
and we were living in Austin at
Yep.
the time.
So,
So you leave San Antonio,
mhm.
and then where did you go?
I went to Altus Air Force Base, Oklahoma.
Oh, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
There's way better
No.
places to go than
Yes,
Oklahoma.
that's what I thought too. I was like, how do I get this so lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially
Yeah.
being a Texan,
Yeah.
nobody wants to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Nobody. So, what was your assignment at Oklahoma, and what was your rank at this point?
I was a E6,
Okay.
and shortly thereafter, I tested for E7 and made it within that first year that I was there. I
Okay.
had to wait a year to put it on again. Yeah, you could definitely tell, like when we talk about deployments and stuff like that. So a Altus fell under the Air Education and Training Command, which what happens unfortunately if the Air Force cannot fill all of their deployments, they reach back to non-command or command specific sponsored installations, and they send them as excess to go and deploy. You know what I mean? So It wasn't, so ATC wasn't part of a combatant command, so that's why they went back to those
Okay.
bases. And so that's where we really felt the vacancies, of for all those folks that got deployed. I was in charge of the whole TMO office, and then later I was responsible for the whole deployment distribution flight, which consisted of like the vehicle operations folks, TMO, a portion of supply, and also the log planners, logistics planners.
What is TMO?
TMO is the traffic management operations. That's what
Okay.
my primary AFC is.
And what is that? What does that consist of?
So that consists of cargo movement, that consists of household goods, and also arranging passenger travel. So basically,
Okay.
in a nutshell, where anything that comes on or off the installation comes through our office.
Okay. Now, are those offices also staffed by government service as well? I mean, do you work?
So for your GS employees, as what
Yeah.
your civilians, so
Yeah.
very small numbers,
Small numbers. Okay.
very small
The
numbers.
army takes most of those staff positions and just fills them with government service, and they just throw us out in the field and make us do that
Right.
type of stuff. So
No,
it sounds like the Air Force does completely opposite.
yeah,
So, all right. So what was? I mean, obviously nobody likes Oklahoma except
yeah,
for people maybe from there.
yeah.
What was your thoughts on Oklahoma?
Yeah,
You
I
get
was
there and you're
like,
thinking, oh shit, I don't want to
yeah,
be here.
that's exactly what I thought. My father and I went to, we actually drove to Oklahoma before we got orders, before my daughter Kayla and I drove up there from San Antonio. We drove up from Houston with my dad that Thanksgiving prior, and just to kind of see what it was going to be like and whatnot. And yeah, needless to say, that was quite depressing. I was like, I don't know what I did for this, but it is what it is, so I can't talk really bad about Altus. Altus, was afforded a many opportunities there. So yeah, I didn't care for the state very much or the location, but the mission was very friendly to me. So
What is it? What is there to do in Altus, Oklahoma, Altus Air Force Base when you're not working?
well, they had a lake. I mean, they had stuff, a couple little things not too far away. They had a lake out there. You can go, like, they had a pool on base and stuff like that. There's not much shopping around, so you had to drive at least an hour and a half, either to Lawton, um, where Fort Sill was,
Hmm.
or Oklahoma City, which was 2.5 hours away. Dallas was 3.5 hours away.
I'm noticing a
Wichita
trend.
Falls.
I'm noticing
Yeah.
a trend with the shopping.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, during that time it was a little bit different, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Wasn't like just order on Amazon, have it
right,
delivered.
exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah.
actually had to go to a physical store back
Yeah.
then.
Okay.
And they had this rattlesnake roundup once a year in Oklahoma, very close to Altus, and so like very redneck in my opinion. So,
That's saying a lot for somebody coming from Texas.
yeah, yeah. No, it was definitely like from Houston. If you think about it, Houston's not like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Houston. I avoid Houston on purpose.
Yeah.
So so how long were you at Altus?
I was there for 5 years.
5 years. Wow, that's your
Yeah.
longest
Yeah, that
stint
was
so
my
far.
longest assignment. Yeah, but like I said, it
Wow.
was fortunate. I got there as a E6 and I promoted all the way to E8 during that 5-year time frame. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's impressive. That's
Yeah.
impressive. So any deployments out of Altus?
Yeah, two actually. Both of them were to Iraq, same location.
Okay.
The first time was in 2008, and the second one was in 2010. Both to Kirkuk, Iraq,
Okay.
and they were about 7 months each. First one was over the summer, going into the winter time frame, and then the second one was in like right smack dab in the middle of summer. So,
What was the tempo like in Iraq at that time?
uh, both different.
Okay.
In 2008 was a normal operations, it seemed like, like a steady ops, like we weren't leaving anytime soon. Day-to-day operations, like normal work, 12-hour days, 6 days a week, they had some nice things for us to do, just like when we were in Saudi, not as bad, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So the second time in 2010 is when we were starting to close up shop in Kirkuk.
Okay.
And so that was extremely busy there, like packing up things and just going around to the different units and stuff like that. And just, I think that we had a lot more attacks in 2010 compared to 2008. We were also, my office was responsible for coordinating all of the human remains shipments back to the States too. So
Okay.
that was a eye opener, you know, that was like, if you, and so all of their personal belongings too, we would not only ship their human remains back, you know, coordinate the aircraft to come in, and then working with the Army Mortuary Office, um, and doing all the transport. But we used to also take all of their personal belongings and ship them back too. And just like reading the death reports, is
Mm,
like some of these kids were only like 19 years old. They weren't even legal to drink, you
right.
know, and that was
Yeah.
like, man, this sucks, you know? So
Did y'all handle the same mission for Afghanistan? Did they fly them into you guys, or did the Afghanistan have their own unit with that mission?
Afghanistan had
Okay.
their own area. And so the only the human remains were from that area, from the Kirkuk area, because we had
Okay.
Army on Kirkuk as well too, and they
Right.
went outside the wire quite a bit as well too. And so that's
Right.
unfortunately, like when we hear the helicopters and we heard EMEDs all recall, that was something going on. So they were
Yeah.
coming back with somebody that was unfortunately hurt or that perished during that time.
Yeah. It's a lot of dust off going on during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So this first deployment, I mean, anything you said you had some rocket attacks more the second one, but on the first one, anything stand out that happened that first deployment?
Yeah, that's still probably the same, you know, with the rocket attacks and stuff like that, you know, just like those experiences all together, that was like eye opening, you know what I mean? Just the living conditions that we had too. You know, the Air Force has a little bit more bougier than sometimes what the Army does, but uh just speaking the truth, but well, yeah, the living conditions in Iraq were not the greatest either, you know, for anybody over there. So
Right. I mean, you didn't have your shopping, you didn't have your,
no, we didn't have
your
anything, you know what I mean?
Starbucks
It's like, let me
coffee
go
and your
home.
room service and
Yeah, no,
cable TV.
no.
So,
Um,
anything else stand out from that
yeah,
deployment?
yeah. I mean, like just gratefulness, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Gratefulness and how much you're appreciated being an American and not
Hmm.
living in a war-torn country.
Right.
And just like feeling a lot safer,
Right.
you
Did you
know?
handle the Army troop movements at that time in and out of country, or
No.
no? Okay.
So
Army.
we coordinated a lot of our logistical movements with the Army though.
Okay.
So if we had any ground transportation going on and whatnot, we always coordinated with them to have the civilianized companies come on base actually. And it was, I don't know if it was Iraqis or if it was third world country nationals, you know, that came on base to actually transport our cargo.
Okay. So your second deployment, what was the gap between your first and your second?
2 years.
2 years.
Yep.
Okay. So you get your second deployment.
Hmm.
What was the tempo like? You said you were tearing down, right? You were getting ready to
Yeah.
leave. So you're busy.
Hmm.
You're on the same base? Army still there? Was the
Yep.
army still doing a lot of outside the wire stuff going on?
Yep.
And okay.
Yep. They sure
So
were.
um, anything stand out during that deployment that?
Yeah, just like I said, I mean, like it was a lot scarier over there. We had a mortar attack actually in one of the dorms, like the trailers, the next trailer over to us actually where a mortar landed into the bathrooms area
Oh
during that
wow.
time. So I was like, oh, you know, uh, yeah, those times, I don't know if I try to push those aside a little bit more, you know, just because of the fact like it seemed like it went on forever.
Right.
Um, Not knowing when you're coming home, if you're going to come home. I mean, we did see a lot more casualties during that time too. And so, yeah, you're just like grateful and you're ready to go home.
Okay. So you leave there and you go back to Oklahoma,
Yep.
right? And so now how much longer were you in Oklahoma before you left there?
One more year.
One
And
more year.
so, no, 2000 and I'm trying to think what fast. Actually, no. So in 2 more years. Yeah. In 2012, that's when I
Yeah.
got my orders to Spangdahlem Air Base in Germany.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're like, I'm home.
Yeah, exactly. I was very excited about that. Yeah, my mom was actually living with me in Oklahoma. She moved from Germany to help take care of my daughter during that time in 2010 when I was deployed. So she stayed there, and so she was coming back home with me, and then she was gonna lived there. And then I got promoted when I was at Spangdahlem in Germany to E9 to Chief Master Sergeant.
Okay.
And so that meant another move. And that's when a lot of the moves started happening for me as far as relocation
So
going on.
you go to
So,
Germany, and we talked about that identifier,
yeah.
speaking German. I mean, were you dealing with Germans, and did you get that identifier and that special?
No, I was still within the same career field.
Okay,
And so I wasn't necessarily, we had local nationals that I was able to converse with. And so that
sure,
was really easy and made like life a lot better for all people, like when
right,
you have when you're in the local area and you can speak their language, they're a lot happier.
right,
And so
yeah,
you can converse with them. And so that was the same thing that would happen. Um, for us during that time. So
okay,
yeah, unfortunately, my assignment got cut short about a year, just because of my promotion. And so
okay,
Germany was busy. Uh, Went up to Sweden for a year. I was the project officer for one of our weapons training deployment, because they're not allowed to exercise in Germany, and so we have to go to outside countries.
okay.
Uh, like for example, Spain. We've been to Sweden, we've been to Norway, several other countries that allows us to practice those exercises, and so we went to Sweden during that time frame.
Oh wow, for a
Yeah,
whole year.
for one
Oh,
month,
1 month. Okay,
from
1
one
month.
month, yeah,
Okay.
1 month only, yep.
So Spangalum, and then you went up somewhere northeast, didn't you? Where'd you go from there?
Yeah, I went. Then I was selected since I moved. I went to Delaware, actually,
Dover.
Dover Air Force Base.
Yeah.
Yep, Delaware. That was
Okay.
a really awesome assignment. I went. I was mentioning before when we first started this conversation. We were in an airport squadron, which is not typical for TMO, and so Dover is also a strategic port. And so that was also at an aerial port. So it was kind of neat to see like me going from an E1 Airman Basic all the way to getting promoted to E9 at a port too. So yeah, Dover was a great assignment. Also short-lived though. I was only there for a year.
So is there just not that many slots for E9s, or are they needed
Within
and
my career field.
okay.
Yeah, there's a certain amount per career field. And so we had 16 authorizations in my career field and people were retiring. And so you had to go fill those
Uh,
higher level positions.
right.
And so, yeah, from Dover, I went to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois.
Okay.
And then where we stood up their Air Force Installation Mission and Support Center, which basically um, a centralization for all training and policy for cargo movement and passenger travel.
Okay.
And so Scott Air Force Base in Illinois was the Detachment 9. And so that was taking care of all of the bases within the commands of Air Mobility Command, Global Strike Command, and also Air Force District of Washington. So all of those bases that were in that area, I believe there's 12 of those bases that I was responsible for the training and whatnot.
Okay. Wow.
Mm,
That's a lot of
and
responsibility.
assignments. Yeah,
That's so and how long were you at Scott?
only a year.
So I mean, I got to point out your last name is Scott, and did you tell everybody the base was
Yeah,
named after you, or
no,
I was
unfortunately not.
my
No,
grandpa. So
yeah, yeah.
so you go from there. Is this when where do you go after that? Is this when you go to Rammstein?
No, then I went to back to San Antonio, to Randolph this time though. That's where the headquarters, Air Force Installation Mission Support Center was.
Okay.
And so they had centralized everything. So they took all of the debts and drew those down. And so that was the whole setup that was pretty much in the infancy stage of the Air Force Installation Mission Support Center. And so they had made some changes, and so they centralized all the functions in San Antonio on Kelly Airfield.
They closed down.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You mentioned that there was a lot of retirements. Was that what do you why do you think there were so many retirements in such a kind of a short period of time? Do you think the dragging on war in Afghanistan and Iraq, do you think that had to do with these guys just going, you know what, I've done it, I'm ready to go?
yeah, I think just career choices and family
Mhm.
deployments they probably had enough of. Just moving on. A lot of them were reaching their 30-year mark too. So the
Okay.
Air Force, you can't stay in after 30 years as a chief master sergeant. So unless you're in certain key level positions. And that was pretty much what was happening. And so I was selected for the centralization, and that's why I went back to San Antonio.
Okay. So they want to get you E9s in there at well under that 30 so they can keep you
Yeah,
for a while, right?
right, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So you go to San Antonio. What was anything stand out this next second trip?
So then I was responsible for basically the whole entire like CONUS, all of the installations in the continental US.
Okay.
And a lot bigger side picture, right? And so I was responsible for all the manning and training for them for the first year. And then I moved over to the policy side for for passenger travel and cargo movement. And
Okay.
that's the number 2 position within my career field for E9s. And so from there, the career field manager who sits at the Pentagon was also retiring and reached out to me and said, "Hey, Sandy, we're thinking about bringing you up here. Are you interested?" And I was before my 20-year mark, and so I pretty much had to say yes. Um, and so that's what happened. Yeah, and then I got
So
selected to go to the Pentagon.
did she say Sandy or did she say sorry, Major Scott?
No, 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 Sandy.
She said Sandy.
Yeah,
You Air Force people.
yeah.
So
But
so
we've been friends. The person that reached out to me, the career field manager, we've been friends for several years. We actually deployed back in Saudi together back um in 2000.
okay.
So the second time. So I've known the individual quite a long time. So
Okay. Okay. So you take a spot in DC?
yeah, yep. After two years in San Antonio, I go up to the Pentagon,
Okay.
and I was the career field manager for about a year and a half, almost a year and 3/4. And then assignment came out, and I saw it was back to Germany. I was like, well, I'm gonna try. So I begged and pleaded with one of our general officers and asked for them to allow me to be released out of the career field and out of that position because it was the top position for our career field.
Right.
And sure enough, yeah, then I became a group senior enlisted leader where I was
Okay.
responsible for 4 squadrons of the
Oh
manning
wow.
and training. I think it was about 1,100 folks that were underneath me.
It's
So
pretty good size.
yeah,
Pretty good size. So you
yeah,
back to this time you're at Ramstein, right?
yep. Hmm.
Ramstein, Germany. And during this time frame, this is when the withdrawal from Afghanistan happened, right?
Yep, yep.
This trip. So how long were you back in Germany before the withdrawal?
I was there for a year because I was just coming back actually from leave, taking my daughter to college in Kentucky,
Okay.
for her freshman year, and I was coming back and I was looking at my work phone, and I saw something going on. It just seemed weird, and the person that was holding or sitting in my seat during that time, basically like uh, as a fill-in for while I was on leave, I called and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" It's like, "I can't talk to you over the phone about this and everything else like that." And sure enough, like that same day I landed, that very next morning, we were there at 6 o'clock in the morning and we were starting to get folks come down
So you
from,
had people coming in at 6 a.m.
or
landing?
even before that. Yep.
Really?
We were trying to start set up and like blocking off um in the buildings and stuff like that, like staging areas
Okay.
for them to come through to process them in, because we needed to process them in. They had to go through the State Department and everything else, and they had to get cleared first, and before we housed them and stuff like that, and before we found out what was going to be next for them before they came to the
Okay.
United States.
So you got
So
all hands on deck at this point,
yep.
right? You've got probably SPs patrolling,
Hmm. Yep.
keeping people corralled. You're setting up tents everywhere.
Hmm.
Uh, how often were planes coming in with people?
I mean, there were planes waiting on the ground before we could process them. So there was a
Really?
couple further. Yeah, it was crazy. So we were told initially, I think it was going to just be 1,200 folks, and then all of a sudden the planes started rolling in with hundreds on the planes. I mean, they were just completely like jam packed to the max. I mean, sitting on the floors. There weren't any chairs. And before we were able to figure it out, we kept them on the planes just because we needed to find a good path for them to go through. So
Right. And you guys had no warning this was coming. Nobody told you this is
very
what's
short
happening.
term, short
Right.
term.
Okay.
Yep.
So these planes start rolling in.
Yep.
How long did that? How many days were you?
It was seemed like it was, oh gosh, So it started in August and it didn't end. I mean, the whole operation ended over Halloween. On October 31st was the last plane that took off for the States.
Wow.
And so there was a probably like August, September, probably a good 30 days plus.
Right.
And then we ran into that was also during the time with COVID going on and everything
Mhm.
else like that. And then the immunizations and they needed to have be immunized, not only just for COVID, in which they had to wait their 2 weeks to get their booster shot, and then they had to also have their normal like uh, uh, chickenpox vaccinations and stuff like that that they normally get in their country,
Right.
So in order for them to go to the U.S., we needed them to stay there in order for them to make get all their immunizations and stuff like that. So in total, we had over at one given time between Ramstein and also Kaiserslautern, where the army post was, um, there was 34,000 people.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Over that whole period of time,
Yeah.
34,000 people.
Yep.
That's a lot of people.
Yep.
And wow.
And going
And
through the
so
different weather changes and stuff like that, where it was hot during the summer and then
sure.
cold during when it was starting to get cooler. I mean, having tents and this, like, it took up our whole flight line operation. Like,
Right.
we had tents all over the place.
And I would venture to say the majority of these people came with nothing but the clothes on their back, right?
Yes.
So and so now you're not only, immunizations, well, housing, food, immunizations, now you're clothing, now
Hmm.
you're everything else, all of that. That's for 34,000 people
Yeah.
over a couple of months. That's a lot of people.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
It was hectic, like
Crazy.
long hours, 18. I mean, I remember the first 3 to 4 weeks, we were working at least 18 hours a day, 19 hours a day. And
Oh,
it was just exhausting. So,
oh yeah. And so what was your actual job title at this point?
I was a group senior enlisted leader. My boss, the colonel, and I, we were responsible for the log yard, the logistics
Hmm.
yard, where they processed all of the folks in that came off the aircraft, and then
Hmm.
they got looked at from security forces, and then they went through the medical area. Then they got screened by whether it be the State Department, and if they were questioned for anything that they could have possibly been involved with back in Afghanistan that wasn't so good.
Hmm.
They were processed out again. You know what I mean? I mean, they were families upon families. It seemed like initially that was just going to be folks that were affiliated with the military that were helping us out.
Hmm.
But no, I mean, we had incidences uh, where there were babies being had on the aircraft as well, while they were waiting in line. I mean, it was just like, and just trying to find space for all of everybody,
Right.
trying to find the food that they needed in order to survive, really, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So we had to work with I mean, there was a whole wing operations center from all different entities that were responsible for certain things, but ours was just the logistics piece with the buses and transporting them, getting supplies in and out to them of what they needed.
Right. How many babies would you say were born during this period of time?
Probably over 20, I would say. I
Oh
think it
wow.
was, yeah.
Wow.
And the small children too, I mean, you
Sure.
had children like uh you had children from all age groups, and so just trying to provide to them to make them and then keep them secure in a certain area too,
Well, and
uh
entertained. I mean, you got
yeah,
little kids that are sitting there that want to play, they want to run
yeah,
around. They're seeing aircraft, they're seeing military stuff
yeah.
and they want to go do something.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
So, I mean, it was a life-changing experience for a lot of them because they had never seen like maybe green grass before too, So, or like, I know one thing that we had a hard time with is just learning how to use a bathroom, the simple things, that you
Yeah.
take for granted, So,
Sure.
I mean, just getting them ready to ship out to back on a plane and not knowing what's next.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The uncertainty is like you don't know what's going to happen next and where they were going to go to. I mean, their whole family or
Right.
if they had family left behind too. I mean, luckily had a lot of different chaplains that were working there, and we had a lot of different aides. Like the Red Cross was there in full force and trying to help out as much as they could, and people from off base and um, were trying to give them supplies that they needed, so
Sure.
mm,
Yeah. So your whole career up to this point kind of prepared you for this,
yeah.
but in a lot of sense, it didn't prepare you for what you were just about to go
No,
through. Yeah.
no, this
So
is
what?
probably something that I remember exactly what I was doing for 9/11, what I was like
Mhm.
taking care of, and like that incident. And this is another like 9/11 experience for me.
Right. What would you say was the biggest lesson you learned from that?
Mhm. Uh, I would say care. You don't know what these people are going through,
Sure.
and that they're all humans, and just trying to be humble of what you have.
Okay. So how long? So this goes on. 34,000 people.
Hmm.
Um, how much longer were you in Germany after this?
So that was October 31, and then I left in that following. I want to say that I'm trying to think that following January after that in 2023 is when I left.
Okay. And is that when you went to Alabama?
Yes.
Okay. So
Hmm.
then, so now you're going to go back into kind of teaching. I mean, you're not really an instructor, right? I
Mm,
mean, at this point, but you're back in the teaching environment,
yep.
right? So what was that like going from, you know, going from hell
Yeah.
back to stateside? I mean,
Yeah.
you just experienced all of this for these people, and
Hmm.
you're kind of, and I saw it in some of my limited deployments. I mean, you appreciate what you have after that, right?
Right.
And so now you get to Alabama, and are you thinking this may be my last stop, or I mean, what was your thought kind of going into that?
So I knew that Alabama was going to be my last stop because I was coming up on my time, and so I knew that I wouldn't been able to get a different assignment. And that's actually I left Germany a little bit before I finished my 3-year assignment, just because I was selected for that job to be the chief of education at the Air Force Senior NCO Academy. I thought I'd always wanted to go back ever since I was a student back in 2011, and so finishing my career out there, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So.
I mean, it's a nice installation, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice place to be. It's a little weird. You walk around with your hands in your pockets and calling everybody by their first names, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's that. So I guess I'm old school as well with the hands in the pocket and stuff like that. So that's not necessarily how I grew up either, but
Right.
that's I guess what's okay now.
Yeah.
So
So what was it like being at the NCO Academy?
so it was like it was really an eye opener as well too, just because of the fact like understanding how the education and how it has to shift to stay relevant for our
Mhm.
senior NCOs that attend the school. And it was definitely like just working with some of the best people from around the Air Force. And it was like I was saying, that was probably the best way to end my career.
But the tempo is probably, I mean, after going
Yeah.
through, Rammstein, after going
Mhm.
through now, the tempo at the school is probably pretty lax at this
Yeah,
point.
it's
I
a
mean,
lot slower.
yeah, you
It
got a
just,
lot of work to do, but it's not as
yeah,
as you know.
yeah,
So so then you get to retirement,
yeah.
right? And you decide you're going to retire. Now you said 29 years and a
Four
couple of
months and
months.
10
Yeah.
days.
Why the specific? I mean, why couldn't they extend you to the 30? Or I mean,
That was
did
a
you not
personal
want to?
choice. That
Okay.
was a personal choice. So I only had my daughter as a dependent, and she was about to graduate college, and I was like, this is probably the perfect time for both of us to see something new, and before I get a pay cut, before because I don't have any more dependents. And yeah, it was just a personal choice, and I'm glad we
Yeah.
did it because I was able to spend time with Kayla, and go on vacation with her before she started her big girl job, in
Awesome.
South Carolina. So
Awesome.
yeah,
All right. So we just went through
yeah,
29 years of your
yeah.
career in about an hour. right?
Yeah.
So a little more than an hour.
Mhm.
It doesn't do your 29 years justice. I can tell you that. So is there anything that you would like, anything you remember from this entire time that, maybe 20 years from now, you want Kayla to be able to watch this video and go, I remember mom telling me that, or I
Yeah.
remember being there, or your grandkids or your
Uh-huh.
great grandkids to go, that was grandma. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Overall, I think just the appreciation that we have for people, the
mhm.
friendships that you form across the military, and just being understanding, like if you don't stay in contact every single day, that you can still pick up from where you left off. I mean, that's the relationship that we have, and we've
Yeah.
known each other over 30 plus
30,
years,
yeah. Wow.
so it was great seeing you during my retirement ceremony too. It
Yeah.
always it meant a lot to me to have
Yeah.
you there in person.
I'm glad I was
And
able to come.
yeah. And being grateful for what you have too, so your freedoms are not free. Um and like this, the friendships overall that
Yeah.
I formed, and just being able to go and do different kinds of things, stretching my comfort zone quite a bit, being open to new environments. Um and it's not always the end either, you know what I mean? So
Getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that sums it up right there.
Yeah. So now that you're retired, what's your plans? What are you gonna
Oh,
do?
enjoy life
So
now.
soak up the sun, spend time at the
Uh,
pool, drinking margaritas.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much what it is. Planning vacations and stuff like that. So I don't really plan on going back to work full time anymore. I've started volunteering quite a bit with the food bank in Montgomery, and also the Meals on Wheels program here. I think I'm going to dabble into the travel planner
Okay.
industry a little bit, just to make a little bit of side money to fund my fun time, So, and spend time with family and
That's
friends,
awesome.
over
That's
the
awesome.
years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Well, any parting words? Any?
I just want to say thanks again, Rob, for this
Yeah,
opportunity, and
absolutely.
I am excited to listen to the other stories that you have as well. If I can help you out in any which way, if you need anyone else,
Yeah, anybody you know that wants to tell their story, I mean,
yeah,
send them our way.
okay,
We want to capture these. The kind of goal for this was to, we know of the Medal of Honor winners, right? We know
hmm,
that, the Bronze Stars and those guys. What we don't have captured is everybody else, right?
yeah.
And there's some good stories to be told out
Hmm.
there, and I want to make sure that we capture those.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And I definitely tap into my resources and get some folks, send them your way. So,
awesome.
but just thanks again, and
Yeah.
have fun while you're in the service, because it goes by in a quick a blink of an eye. So, and if it's not just 4 years, 6 years, or 10 years, to serve your time honorably too. So,
Yeah. All right. Well,
okay,
hang out real quick, and
okay,
catch you on the other side.
yeah, absolutely. Have a good day.